Congratulations, you've just found the #1 over 50 health and wellness podcast on the planet. Hello and welcome to the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert and the founder of The Silver Edge, and I am on a mission to help men and women just like you build lean, strong, healthy, capable bodies they love for the rest of their lives. All right, folks, so today I want to tackle the myth that you can build your dream body by dieting. That is, that you can get the body of your dreams, whatever that means for you, by eating less food than you're currently eating. Now, before we jump into this, let me just back up a little bit and talk about, is it even possible to build your dream body over 50? And I think if you're a longtime listener, or even a recent listener to this podcast, you know where I'm going with this. The answer is unequivocally 100% yes. So even if you have an extreme idea of what you want your dream body to be in this day and age of social media, maybe you want six-pack abs, maybe you want to be big and jacked, maybe you want to be lean and athletic, maybe you want to be toned and sexy, whatever that means to you when I say dream body, maybe you just want to lose this 20, 30 pounds that you've been carrying around basically your whole entire adult life. Maybe that's your dream body. But I will say this, just because you're past a certain age does not mean that you can't achieve this. Now, some of the rules may change a little bit, and we may need to take some things into consideration that our 30-year-old bodies didn't, but that's okay. That's what this podcast is for, to help you get over those hurdles. Okay, so with that being our groundwork, so to speak, the fact that yes, it is possible to build any body that you want at any age. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're in your 50s and 60s. I thought I would hop on here and talk about why dieting is a really bad idea if you're trying to build your dream body, especially for those of us in our 50s and 60s. And here's what prompted this. I keep seeing some of these really big social media fitness influencers in my feed saying things like, we need to stop overcomplicating weight loss. You just need to eat less food. It's a discipline problem. And some of these accounts have millions and millions and tens of millions followers with this message of we're overeating and we just need to eat less food in order to build our dream bodies. Now, look, to be fair, in some cases, there are some situations out there where some individuals probably do need to start with just eating less food in order to, as a step towards building their dream body. But it seems on the outside that this would make sense, right? The reason you're overweight is because you're overeating, right? Well, not so fast. Now, it certainly is true that if you eat less food than you're currently eating, that is, you go on a diet, that you'll be in a calorie deficit. And this is basically the law of energy balance that says that if you eat fewer calories than you burn in a day, you're going to lose weight. But I want to pull this apart and maybe dismantle this idea that you can diet your way to your dream body for a couple of reasons here. Number one, this is a gross oversimplification and it does not consider the complexity of our metabolisms. Number two is, look, the older we get, the less true that statement is, that we can just diet our way to our dream body, or if we want to lose weight or build whatever kind of body we want, all we need to do is eat less food. While we can easily get away with a simple prescription of quote unquote eating less food when we're maybe in our 20s or 30s, my guess is you've probably noticed that no longer works so well for you. And just the icing on the cake here, the more frequently we diet, the more difficult subsequent diet attempts become. All right. Number three reason why I don't feel like this is really good advice for those of us in our 50s or 60s. And to be clear, I don't think it's great advice for anybody, but specifically is horrible advice for those of us in our 50s and 60s, is that while eating less food does result in weight loss, there's, again, laws of thermodynamics we can't get around, it is almost always temporary weight loss. And I'm saying weight loss and not fat loss because we're going to get to that in a minute, but statistics show us that less than 5% of us that lose weight keep it off for the long term. So 95% of us fail, right? More than 95% of us fail at losing weight and keeping it off for the rest of our lives. And look, it doesn't matter what diet. Doesn't matter what diet you choose, they all fail miserably. Number four reason I want to bring up here is when we lose weight, we lose muscle. Look, there are some really good studies coming out now, done specifically on some of these GLP-1 semaglutide drugs. So think Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, things like that. But these studies are showing that 40% of people who have weight loss with these drugs, and look, these drugs act by making you eat less. So it's another form of diet. They decrease your appetite so that you eat less. That's the mechanism at work here. So these prescription weight loss drugs, and they're doing these studies watching people who are having this weight loss success on these drugs, and they're showing that 40% of their weight loss is muscle. Now, this might be okay for, say, an overweight 30-year-old or maybe somebody who's morbidly obese, but it is deadly to you and me. This is not a good prescription. This is not a good deal to lose 60% of fat and 40% of your muscle if you are in your 50s or 60s. Remember, muscle is the organ of longevity. Muscle is the organ of health. Muscle is the organ of aging in a healthy manner. And we want to do everything we can. We want to fight and claw to hang on, to build and to maintain muscle. And remember, we're not losing muscle because we're getting older. We're losing muscle because we're not using it. Okay? So I just wanted to kind of pull that apart. Those are some reasons why I just think that you eating less is a terrible way for you to build your dream body. Yeah, it's going to result in some temporary, quote unquote, weight loss, 40% of that being muscle. That's no bueno. But now look, here's the deal. Over here at the Silver Edge, we only coach men and women in their 50s and 60s. I mean, yes, we've done a couple people younger than that and a few people older than that, but really the vast majority, hundreds and hundreds of people, close to 1,000 at this point, of men and women in their 50s and 60s. And now get this, almost every single client that we get who comes to us overweight, that is their main goal is weight loss, they're under eating. Yes, you heard that right. When they come into our program for weight loss, we find that they have weight to lose and they're currently under eating. And this is far and away our most common avatar. So common, in fact, that our coaches, we get together and sometimes we're wondering if every single 50 and 60-year-old out there on earth is currently overweight and under eating. And of course, that's not true. I don't think that's the case. And I suspect our messaging, like podcasts like this, attract this avatar client, this person who feels like, oh, wait, maybe my metabolism is a little bit stuck and I've backed myself into a corner here and I can't diet my way out of here because I'm already eating low calorie. But I can tell you from personal experience that this is not at all uncommon. In fact, I'd be so bold as to say this is a common condition for people in our age group, especially those of you with, say, fewer than 30 pounds to lose. So maybe the skinny fat condition, or if you're a dude and you just have that spare tire, maybe a little bit of man boobs, or if you're a woman, you're carrying your weight, maybe in your gut, maybe in your hips. So you've got this additional fat on your body and you're constantly trying to diet away. So you're going on these diets. I suspect a bunch of you probably have really slow metabolisms and you're probably not eating enough food, which sounds completely contrary to, hey, I want to build my dream body, right? But stick with me here. So you might reasonably, very reasonably thinking, well, wait, Kevin, how is this possible? What are you talking about? How could you possibly be overweight and under eating? If someone's overweight, doesn't that automatically mean that they're overeating? And of course, no, it doesn't. And now this brings us to the nuances of the whole, if you want to lose weight, just eat less food message. I think that's horrible advice for everybody in general. I think it's terrible advice for me and you. All right, so let's take my favorite example. And those of you that have listened to this podcast for a while, bear with me. So this really is my favorite example. Weight Watchers is a really, really easy program to pick on. So we're going to use them. We see a ton of, we get men and women, but primarily women coming from Weight Watchers into our program. So I'm going to pick on them. So in our example, we're going to say we have a 55-year-old woman. She's fed up with losing and gaining the same 25 pounds over and over again. And so a friend talks her into going all in on Weight Watchers. She's like, okay, this is it. I'm all in. I'm buying into this program. And she does. All right, so she's got 25 pounds to lose, 25 pounds overweight. Let's say in 3 months in Weight Watchers, she's lost 10 pounds. That's pretty darn good. And then in the next 3 months, let's say she ekes out another, say 5 pounds, keep round numbers here. So she's 6 months in and she's down 15 pounds. That's pretty darn good, but she still has 10 pounds to go. But 3 months later, something weird happened. The scale hasn't budged. She's super, super strict. She's following the program to a T. And for those of you that aren't familiar with how Weight Watchers works, it gets you to eat less food by this kind of goofy counting points. You assign points to foods and you get so many points per day. So basically they're causing this woman to eat less food, but she's stuck. She's plateaued here at 9 months. And then 3 months later, she's a year into this program and she's lost those 15 pounds, and hats off to her. She's managed to keep that 15 pounds off, but she still has 10 pounds to go. She doesn't have her dream body, far from it, right? Now, we could stop right here and call this a victory. I mean, if she lost 15 pounds and she managed to keep it off for a year, that's pretty darn good. That's better than most of us do. But let's break this down. If of the 15 pounds she lost, 40% was muscle and 60% was fat, she lost 9 pounds of body fat. That's fantastic, by the way. But she also lost 6 pounds of muscle, and that is very, very, very bad for a whole host of reasons. So basically, she's a smaller, weaker, less, not more, healthy version of herself. I'm going to repeat that. She's down 15 pounds. That's fantastic, right? You're thinking. But she's smaller, weaker, less, not more healthy version of her former self. Now, those of us who are over 50, I want to submit that we want to fight like hell to build and maintain muscle. We know that muscle is the organ of longevity, and it's the secret to aging like a sexy badass. So becoming smaller and frailer is the exact opposite of that. If we're talking about our dream body, it's not us being just smaller and weaker and less confident and less competent, right? So this is why I always laugh when I see programs like Weight Watchers or all of the prescription drugs, right? They add this disclaimer to their program that says something along the lines of, this program works best when combined with exercise and healthy eating habits. Well, no shit. I mean, if you had healthy eating habits and you exercise appropriately, you wouldn't need these goofy diets or you wouldn't need these ridiculous weight loss medications. You wouldn't, because they're Band-Aids. These are ways of getting you to eat less food and doing that for the rest of your life. That's not the way to A, build a dream body, or B, become metabolically healthy and aging like a sexy badass. So back to our example of our Weight Watcher lady. Weight Watchers only works, and I'm, of course, putting that in air quotes for those of you out there in podcast land, because it gets you to eat less food. Just like Ozempic decreases your appetite. So same sort of mechanism here. I'm going to get you to eat less food. Now, in our example, this lady is eating right about 1,200 calories a day, because that's the Weight Watchers magic. That seems that most females in that program end up at about 1,200 calories a day, and she's probably weak and she's probably a little bit flabby. I guess we could say at this point that she shouldn't have a dad bod. She's got a grandma bod. We'll call it a grandma bod. And her metabolism is slowed basically to a crawl to accommodate her consistent low calories. I mean, 1,200 calories is not very much food, and it's not a fun place to live your life either. 1,200 calories, people, come on. I mean, there's no room in there for ice cream sundaes or for a couple glasses of wine with your girlfriends. There's just not a whole lot of room to move if all you're working with is 1,200 calories a day. And remember, she still has 10 pounds to go. So what should she do to get rid of those last 10 pounds? Eat even less food? Lose some more muscle? I mean, what is she going to do? Eat 800 calories? That's freaking ridiculous. And look, I can promise you at this point in this podcast, some of you out there, one of our past or maybe even current 101 clients are thinking, oh my God, he's talking about me. But seriously, this scenario is so common that it's not even funny. We see, and it doesn't have to be Weight Watchers, that's just one of the more common ones, but we see people coming into our program all the time who are so frustrated because they've hit this hard plateau. They just can't seem to figure out why they can't lose this last bit of weight. They're so smart and so successful in every other area of their life, and they're like, what the heck is going on? All right. So, but at any rate, if you're out there and you're a Weight Watchers client and this is at all landing with you, hit us up. Or if you know somebody who's on Weight Watchers, just send them this episode. But this is why I get so worked up when I see fitness gurus and fitness influencers out there on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram telling people that if they want to lose weight, they just need to eat less food. Stop complicating things. And to be sure, again, some overweight people should start by eating less food, but certainly not all overweight people should eat less food. And when you're in your 50s and 60s, you should think long and carefully before you start yet another diet. Think about it this way. Every time you go on another diet, your metabolism, that is your biology, doesn't know that you're just trying to diet away a couple pesky pounds, it perceives this as a life-threatening situation. It perceives your diet as a food shortage, and so it slows your metabolism and other vital functions down to accommodate for this new situation. And then when your weight loss stalls and you decide to add in some extra cardio, you're just throwing gas on this metabolic dumpster fire. Now, at this point, the body is not only perceiving food shortage and famine, but it's also got these high energy output demands, and it's scrambling to shut down or slow down some of these non-essential systems. And the result is you not losing fat, losing muscle, feeling like crap, and making any future dieting attempts less likely to be successful. Okay, so if eating less food isn't the answer to building your dream body, and it is especially not for people in our age bracket, what is the answer? If you're out there and you're thinking, okay, dang, maybe I have fallen into this trap of undereating and I still have weight to lose, what should you do? All right, here's the problem. Here's the rub, okay? Without trying to overcomplicate this too much, let's break this down into three main categories, right? We're going to talk about food, we're going to talk about exercise, we're going to talk about lifestyle. So in other words, this is our prescription. This is what we're going to do to build our dream body. We know what we're not going to do, which is just rely on a diet or a calorie deficit. So number one, food. All right, so if we're not dieting then, what are we doing with our nutrition? What are we doing with food? Here at the Silver Edge, we've developed the Silver Edge Nutrition Pyramid. Pretty simple concept, right? But this is the way we try to demystify nutrition with our clients. And basically, it looks like this. So imagine a pyramid or a triangle where you have the base at the bottom and a pointy tip at the top. And we're going to horizontally divide that into four sections. So we're going to have this base, this wide base at the bottom. And then moving up from that, we're going to have a little smaller section. Moving up from that, we're going to have a little smaller section. Then at the tippy top of that triangle, we have a little tiny section, right? So you with me? We've divided this pyramid into four chunks, if you will. And basically what this pyramid is meant to represent are your priorities when it comes to your nutrition. So in other words, what's the most important thing you do? We're going to put that at the bottom, and then the next most important, then the next most important, and then finally the little tippy top, that's going to be the least important thing you need to consider when it comes to your nutrition specifically for building your dream body. Again, whatever that means to you. And here's what gets most people. We'll just go ahead and go through the pyramid, what the ranking is. And at the bottom, the most important thing you can do is what you eat. The second most important thing you can do for your dream body is how you eat. And we're going to go over these in just a sec, so bear with me. The third most important thing is how much you eat. And the least important thing is when you eat. All right, so let's break this apart a little bit, because most of you have probably heard, well, if I want to change my body composition, how much I eat is 100% the most important thing. But I call bullshit on that. I think we've got this upside down. Because when we focus on what we eat and how we eat, most of the time that automatically will take care of how much you eat. So let's pull this apart a little bit. I'm saying that the most important thing you can do to build your dream body from a nutrition standpoint is to consider what you eat, not how much you eat. We're going to get there in a minute. That's important. It's just not as important as what you eat. So when I say what you eat, I've really got to keep this simple. I have two rules for you. Rule number one is to eat real food. So in other words, get rid of as much as possible the ultra-processed crap in your diet. You don't need that. You don't need the packaged foods. We want real whole foods, foods that don't have ingredient lists on them. Think about the periphery of your grocery store. So you're going to have your produce, you're going to have your meat, you're going to have your dairy, you're going to have your, maybe over here in the freezer section, frozen produce and frozen meats, things like that. Those are the types of foods I'm talking about. But if we would get rid of some of that crappy processed food, which has very little nutrient density and very high calorie density, the exact opposite of what we want, by the way, and swap that out for real whole foods, half of the battle's already won towards our dream body. Half. Yes, half of the battle is won just right there, just by making that swap. And look, at this point, us Americans, over 70% of our diets are made up of processed and ultra-processed foods. So I don't want you to take this lightly. This is a big overcoming. And you're probably, if you're average and you're eating 70% processed food and 30% real whole foods, it's not realistic to think that tomorrow you're just going to switch that around and then tomorrow just flip that on its head, and tomorrow you're going to eat 80% whole food and 20% crap, that's probably not realistic, but you can start small. Start somewhere. Start maybe with your breakfast. Start with your snacks. Start with your dinner. Start somewhere and start a habit of looking for places where you can replace crappy ultra-processed food with real, whole, nourishing food. So there you go. That's tip number 1 for what you eat. Number 2 is we're going to focus on healthy protein. So here at the Silver Edge, we like to encourage people that are looking to build their dream bodies in their 50s and 60s to aim for a goal of 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So if you're a 210-pound dude, but you wish you weighed 190, your goal is to eat 190 grams of protein every day. If you're a woman and say you weigh 160, but you wish you weighed 130, your goal is to eventually get to eating 130 grams of protein every single day. And look, I'm not going to lie, that's a lot of protein. I'm going to go on a limb here and say most of you aren't even getting close to that. Probably a lot of you listening to this aren't even getting half of that much protein. But here's what happens when we eat a protein-forward diet. A couple of things happen. One is, of course, protein is broken down into amino acids. That's building blocks for muscle. We just said we want to maintain muscle at all costs at our age. We'll get to that here in the next section. But number 2 is protein's the most satiating of all the macronutrients. Carbs are the least satiating of all macronutrients. So when we eat highly processed food, which is mostly nutrient-devoid carb crap, and sometimes some nasty fats thrown in there as well, we're hungry again pretty quickly after we eat that. And we eat a nice big steak, we're not so hungry an hour later. It's more satiating. So that's number 1 is what you eat. So remember our pyramids: what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat in terms of what's important. So number 1, we're just going to swap out ultra-processed crap for real, whole, nourishing food. Number 2, we're going to, again, slowly build up our protein. If you're currently eating 50 grams of protein a day and your goal is 130 grams, I don't recommend tomorrow eating 130 grams of protein. I recommend just starting a habit of eating a little more protein every single day until you get close to that. All right. Now, this next part of the pyramid, how you eat, catches a lot of people by surprise. They're like, what do you mean how you eat? I mean, we chew our food and we swallow it, right? Yes, we do. But what we're addressing here when we talk about how you eat is recognizing that we're complex creatures, us humans, and we eat for a variety of reasons. Unlike most animals who only eat for hunger, we eat for all kinds of reasons. We celebrate with food. We eat when we're angry, when we're stressed, when we're happy, when we're sad. So we have all these emotional eating type behaviors as well. But here's a simple way to start with how you eat if you really want to build your dream body. And it's simply this: slow down and be mindful when you eat. So I like the habit of never eating standing up, never eat in your car, never eat at your desk. Always sit in a kitchenette or a dining room table, somewhere like that, your break room if you're at work. But sit down in an eating environment, take your time, chew your food thoroughly, enjoy your food, and notice the taste, notice the texture, notice the smell, and put away your frickin' phone. You don't need to scroll Facebook and get triggered or look at the news, whatever it is you do while you eat. Just get rid of it for 15, 20 minutes. You don't need it. You'll live. You'll be just fine. But slow down. Take your time. Here's how this helps you build your dream body. When we wolf our food down as fast as we can, when we go through drive-through or eat at our desk or just eat on the run, we're overriding our body's natural satiety cues. So we have these hormones in our bodies. You may have heard of leptin and ghrelin. That's your hunger and your satiety cues. And when we eat very quickly, we overrun those cues. In other words, we don't give our gut the time to signal our brain, hey, we're full. So we've already eaten too much food. So by slowing down, and that's what I mean by how you eat, slow down, be mindful, get rid of the electronic distractions, okay? So we're going to concentrate on what we eat, how we eat, and here's the funny thing about that. When you do those two things and you get consistent and you have a good, healthy practice of choosing real whole foods, eating lots of protein, and you eat slowly, deliberately, mindfully, I think you're going to find how much you eat takes care of itself. Now, there may be some tweaking here. Some of you may need to eat more food. Some of you may need to eat less food. That's where we start to play with diet, but we don't start with diet. That's not how we start building our dream body. We start by these other healthy habits. So I'm going to leave how much you eat right there. And then just very quickly, when you eat, I don't care what your zealot intermittent fasting friend at work told you, it is the least important part of you building a lean, strong, healthy dream body. It just isn't. And now some of you out there are thinking, well, wait. What about cell senescence and longevity and biohacking? That's nonsense. You intermittently fast every day. Your biology's baked that in. It's called sleep. That's why we call breakfast. We are breaking our fast. Don't eat in an 8-hour window unless you really, really enjoy eating that way. And even if you do, I would actually encourage maybe that's not the best way to build your dream body in your 50s and 60s. But that's another topic for another day. So there's the Silver Edge nutrition pyramid. That, again, we use that to simplify a vastly, vastly complex nutrition environment and try to make it kind of simple, right? Let's focus on what we eat. And that's going to be real food. It's going to be protein. We're going to focus on how we eat. And that's going to be mindfully and slowly and deliberately without electronic distractions. How much we eat, again, that will mostly take care of itself when we do the first two things correctly. And then we're really not going to worry too much about when we eat. It's kind of important. You don't want to eat a big meal right before sleep, things like that. But it's the least important thing. All right. So there we go. We said there were 3 main categories here for building your dream body. Nutrition was 1, exercise was 2, lifestyle was 3. Let's jump into exercise. Okay, remember back at the beginning, we said, hey, some of these weight loss programs where it's a one-trick pony, their only trick to get you to lose weight is to get you to eat less food, and you're going to lose 40% muscle, 60% fat. That's bad. We as healthy 50 and 60-year-olds, we want to build and maintain as much muscle as possible. And look, I'm not talking about ladies becoming She-Ra or dudes becoming Arnold Schwarzenegger. Even building a modest amount of muscle has a tremendous effect on your overall health and your metabolism. So for us, then, strength training is going to be king. So let me just spend a minute and tell you what I mean by strength training. Tell you what strength training is and strength training is not in this context, right? In the context of a 50 or 60-year-old looking to build their leanest, strongest, healthiest dream body, right? So strength training is not boot camps. It's not Peloton classes. It's not intense cardio. It's not F45 or Orange Theory or CrossFit. It's not any of these things. It's not a class. Very often when we get new clients in, they'll say, yeah, I do strength training 5 days a week. And we're like, A, that's a red flag. That's probably too much. But B, talk to me. What does that look like? And they'll say something like, oh, well, we'll do push-ups and then with a partner. And then when I'm done doing push-ups, I move over and then I do some curls. And then we move to the next station. We do jumping jacks and we move to a third station. And there we're going to do overhead press and maybe some squats. And then we're going to go back to the first station. That's not what I'm talking about. That's cardio with weights, and that has its time and place, but that's not strength training in the context that I'm talking about it here when it comes to building a lean, strong dream body here. What I'm talking about is more like what bodybuilders do, frankly. It's the man or woman who lifts a moderate weight, let's say 10 times, puts it down, and just stands there for 60 seconds, rests, and then picks it up, does another 10, then puts it down, rests for 1 minute, and then picks it up and does another set of 10, and then moves on to his next exercise. So that's what I'm talking about. And when we talk about strength training, I'm not talking about anything crazy. 3 days a week of full body, professionally designed, age-appropriate, functional workout programming is perfect for most of us out there. 45 minutes a day 45-minute sessions is fantastic. 45 minutes to an hour. So again, 3 days a week. You're not living in the gym. You're not killing yourself. That's what I'm talking about. So when we talk about exercise, we want strength training. We want, I think, 3 days of full body workout programming is perfect. And we want to practice progressive overload. In other words, we want to lift a little bit more weight every time we do an exercise. So we either want to do another rep or add a little bit of weight, but we want to give the body a signal to build muscle. And that's how we do it. We do it through this strength training, and we do it by progressively overloading. Now, this implies that we're then going to have some way of tracking our progress. So I would recommend getting an app or perhaps using a notebook, but some way of logging your progress. It also assumes that you have some sort of a program whose intention is to get a 50 or 60-year-old stronger. So you need a good, professionally designed, age-appropriate functional strength training program. Now, just a quick plug here. We here at the Silver Edge have some of the best training for this age group on the whole entire planet. Very seriously, our number one workout program is called the Lean Body Blueprint. We get rave reviews for that. This is a 6-month long workout program, broken into 5 phases to keep you progressing throughout. I will throw out the caveat that you'll need a gym membership if you want to do that program, or at least a very well-equipped home gym. But Lean Body Blueprint is far and away our number one bestseller when it comes to workout programs. But for those of you that are listening to this and maybe are just starting out or don't have a gym, just maybe have a couple of dumbbells at home, Fit Foundations is a better program for you. That's I believe that's a 12-week program. But at any rate, you can check the show notes to whatever app you're listening in. I'll throw links to those in there. Or you can head over to silveredgefitness.com/327. All right, so in order to build our dream bodies, we've covered what we're going to do from a nutrition standpoint. We've covered what we're going to do from an exercise standpoint. And actually, you know what? Before I leave exercise, some of you are probably like, wait. You didn't say anything about cardio in this phase. So in this phase, I want you guys to think of walking as your cardio. A minimum of 7,000 steps every single day. That's your cardio. Look, cardio is critical for healthy aging. It should be an important part of your wellness and your life. But at this point, intense cardio is actually going to be counter to a lot of you. So if you've got some weight to lose and your metabolism's feeling a little bit sluggish, I'd hold off on any kind of cardio that wasn't, say, walking for the time being. Get in the habit of getting, like I said, a minimum of 7,000 steps every single day. That's your cardio, at least for the next 90 days, right? Try to work up to 10,000 steps a day. That's what we want you doing right now for cardio. All right, I realize I'm rambling here a little bit and I'm going a little longer than I meant to. So let's move along here. We've got a nutrition prescription. We've got a exercise prescription. Let's talk about lifestyle, what we're going to do from a lifestyle perspective in order to build our dream bodies. And in the spirit of keeping things simple, we're going to focus just on 2 things, and that's sleep and stress. So let's start with sleep. And for sleep, I want every single one of you listening to this to work on getting 7 hours of healthy sleep every single night. Now, if that's not you, if you have trouble sleeping, maybe you have troubles falling asleep, maybe you have trouble staying asleep, whatever that is, I want you to lean into that and really work on shoring up that sleep. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Healthy sleep is the foundation of over 50 health. It really is a game changer. Spent most of my adult life as a really crappy sleeper. I'm kind of a pro these days. I want to brag, but I've worked really, really freaking hard. And I know that can sound funny. I worked hard to become a better sleeper, but I really did. I put a lot of time and attention into it. We've done numerous other podcasts on sleep. If you need some sleep resources, hit me up. I'd be glad to send you some sleep resources or some past podcast episodes. But you got to shore up your sleep if you're not getting a minimum of 7 hours of healthy sleep. And for those of you out there thinking, yeah, it doesn't apply to me. I do just fine on 5 hours. No, you don't. No, you do not. Or what you should say is you get by on 5 hours. But you would really, if you want to build the body of your dreams and you are not getting a minimum of 7 hours of healthy sleep every night, you're shooting yourself in your foot. You're making it way harder than it has to be, perhaps even impossible. All right. And then the flip side of sleep then is going to be stress. You've got to have a way of managing stress. Look, we live in stressful times. There's all kinds of crazy stress, and maybe you certainly don't have control over world events and politics and a lot of things in your life. Maybe you have family stress. Maybe you have an elderly parent that's end of life. There's all of these stressors, work stress, traffic stress, and they all add up. But here's the deal. While most of the time we don't have control over a lot of these stressors, we do have control over the way we react to the stress. So my encouragement to those of you, and I'm speaking to myself here, I'm in the high stress club, that get stressed easily, that you're overwhelmed a lot, is find a practice that works for you that at least helps manage that. So some ideas might be to, for me, obviously exercise, working out is a great stress management, but I like deep breathing exercises. I do some journaling. I am a big fan of a gratitude practice. For others, maybe yoga or meditation, things like this. But find some ways to manage your stress. In other words, to control your reaction to stress. Because just like somebody who doesn't sleep enough, somebody who's constantly stressed, you have that low-grade stress inflammation 24/7, you're really not going to be able to build your ideal dream body in that state. You've got to get that piece figured out. So there you go. I warned you that building your dream body, that healthy long-term fat loss is a good bit more nuanced than simply eating less food, than going on another diet. And I think now you can also see how any diet or weight loss drug for that matter has its appeal. Eat less food is really simple. right? Think about all the things I just said. That's not so simple. That's not the easy button. But keto and intermittent fasting, they're simple. Look, just don't eat carbs. Intermittent fasting says, just eat in an 8-hour window. Simple rules. And we like that. We're drawn to that. But know that all of these diets, all of these weight loss drugs, they're really fantastic businesses because they deliver temporary but unsustainable results that guarantee them repeat customers. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we, the consumers, want. Coaching programs like the Silver Edge and our peers aren't getting flooded. Our doors aren't being beaten down with new clients every single day saying, let us in, because most of us don't want to be patient. We're consumers when we don't want to be inconvenienced with things like habit and lifestyle changes. We want fast and simple. And it's also why our business is the end of the line for most of our clients, many of whom come to us saying, hey, you're our last resort. But we're also the last diet or program they'll ever need. And if you are looking to build and maintain your dream body, and look, who isn't? You'll never get there with dieting alone. Never, never, never. You're stuck in a perpetual hellish cycle of weight loss, weight regain, of slowly trashing your metabolism, of a lifetime of weight struggles, low confidence, low energy, low libido, crappy mood, and the repeated mental exhaustion of starting yet another diet, hoping that this time it's going to stick, but somewhere deep down inside, knowing damn well that it isn't going to stick. So let's end this on a happy note. If you are someone who is tired of the weight loss, weight regain roller coaster, and you want to not just quote unquote lose weight, but you want to torch fat, build and tone lean functional muscle, and rev up your metabolism, then let's ditch the diet mentality and let's focus on just these things for the next 90 days. Let's swap out our ultra-processed crap for real whole foods. Let's work our way towards 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. Let's eat mindfully, that is slowly, seated, no distractions. Let's focus on getting strong. Our workouts, remember, they're going to be 3 days a week of full body. I want you to hide your scale in the closet. That is not the measurement of your progress over the next 90 days. Your progress is going to be measured by your gym progress, by how you're progressing and getting stronger. I want you to walk a minimum of 7,000 steps every day. You get bonus points if you do that outdoors. But look, get those steps in. If it's on a treadmill, that's better than not getting them at all. I want you to get 7 hours of quality sleep every night. And then for bonus, let's throw this in here. I want you to drink half of your body weight in ounces of water every single day. So that's your bonus once you get those other things nailed down. But that's it. It's that simple. I want you to meet yourself where you are with love and grace and focus on small, steady progress, not perfection. Honestly, I think one of the worst things you could do after listening to this podcast, let's say you listen to this, you go, oh my God, that's me. And you're all fired up and you're like, okay, that's really good advice. I'm going to do everything tomorrow. You probably could, but my guess is that's not going to last. But if you just implemented slowly, okay, where can I swap out some ultra-processed crap and get in some real whole food? How can I bump up my protein? Let me start a professionally designed, age-appropriate, functional workout program. It doesn't have to be ours, but it should be all of those things. It should be professionally designed, meaning it's made to get you stronger, and it should be age-appropriate, meaning you're not 90, but you're not 20, and it should be a functional fitness program. In other words, it should mirror real-life movements like lunging and squatting and hinging, things, pushing, pulling, things like that, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to get our steps in. We're going to work on our sleep, manage our stress, and for our bonus, we're going to drink plenty of water every day. That's it. And of course, at any time, if you feel like you could use some help on this journey, hit us up. This is what we do all day, every day. This is all we do is help people in their 50s and 60s who feel stuck in this position. We help them get unstuck. We help them build lean, strong, capable, healthy bodies they love for the rest of their lives with no quick fixes, no gimmicks. We're not going to try and upsell you on our supplements. We have no goofy diet protocols. We'll just help you work with your body and with your metabolism instead of against it, so we can turn your body from a fat storing machine into a fat burning furnace. Okay, that's our show for today, folks. If you are interested in checking out one of our professionally designed, age-appropriate functional strength training programs, I'll throw a link to those in the show notes for this episode. You guys can find that on whatever app you're listening to this on, or head over to silveredgefitness.com/237. As we wrap up our time together today, you can show your support for this show in two important ways. The first is to tell a friend about this podcast and encourage them to give it a listen. The second is for you YouTube folks to click on the like and subscribe buttons, and for you podcast folks to please give this podcast a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, and be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss future episodes. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today, and until next time, stay strong.